Welcome back, everyone. I'm sure you must be invigorated after that small break, re energized, and looking forward to the coming sessions. So, our next panel discussion focuses on meta in banking and insurance, an extremely relevant and upcoming area. And moderating this panel is Mr. Abhilash Chatterjee. So let's welcome Mr. Chatterjee with a huge round of applause. But before we begin, let me tell you a little something about himself. Mr.
Thank you.
Chatterjee is a fintech expert. He's an achievement driven professional offering rich and qualitative experience of so many years, over 20 years in BFSI, fintech, telecom domain. So he's also known to mentor teams towards increased productivity, growth, and success in the organization, especially in areas of blockchain, RPA, digital banking, mobile financial services, IoT, AI, ML, big data, cloud computing, API economy, and payments and lending. So the list is never ending. Let's all come together and welcome Mr. Abhilash Chatterjee. So we are so excited to have you for this panel discussion, and we look forward to this discussion beyond words. The panel is all yours, please.
Thank you, Upasana. Really appreciate and thanks for those kind words. And really look forward to this exciting topic in Meta. Yeah. And
Sure, sir.
thank you.
Thank you.
So thank you, everyone. I know it's late evening, but a very early evening for us in India, though. People reach home late, I think, most of us, due to the traffic. So the topic is very interesting. It's metaverse, and it's a bit serious because it's related to banking and insurance, which are the BFSI pillars, as I would say, unlike the other streams where we talk about meta in fashion reality or the other gaming and stuff like that. This is much more serious where the financial institutions get involved. So look forward to have a very good chat with my panel fellow members. I would like to introduce Karthik here. Karthik, if he's there, yeah, I think he's here.
Hi there.
Karthik, hi,
Hi,
Karthik.
Abhilash.
Hi, Karthik. I'll just nice to see you, and would just like to give a brief intro about Karthik. Karthik is has been my kind of co-panelist in many of the other things which we have done together, and he's a great fintech enthusiast. He's a founder at FinstaTech, where he's does great consultancies on various BFSI products and go-to-markets, GTMs. He has been working a great amount of time in wealth management, capital markets, lending, trading. I mean, RPA, e-governance, financial fraud management, so on and so forth. And he has also authored a great book called Future Fintech Framework, which is at the 3F. And Karthik, congrats on that. I know you worked really hard on the during the COVID days, authoring it, and it's really good to have read the book a few days back. So great to see that, and thanks for having come on to this and helping, giving us all your knowledge in terms of what you feel, right, about the meta and the world of meta. As we say, we've seen the internet revolution, we have seen the mobile revolution, we have seen mobile banking, internet banking, and now the Gen Z is hooked on to the
Meta.
gamification, meta-based banking, meta-based, doing transactions in the meta itself. Of course, there are a lot of regulatory challenges, and we'll discuss that. We'll wait for another panel member, Prasanna, who will join us soon. But I think in the meanwhile, Karthik and I pose the first question to you. And, these are interesting times. We have seen the internet banking right from the ATM days to doing basic things on the internet banking, to just checking our balances, to then doing transactions. Now with UPI and PCI, we almost do all our transactions on the mobile and internet banking. So what do you think, where are we in terms of meta in banking? I mean, to start off, and of course, insurance will be an allied product. Where do you think we are at this very moment, in terms of this channel, as I would call it?
Yeah, thanks, Abhilash. I think this is the current so-called interesting topic or hot topic with respect to banking and fintech as a domain, and rightly so, because I think I'll probably try to link meta with respect to I obviously there is a technology dimension to it because of which we are
Right.
talking to it, but I will largely try to come from the perspective of the young gen, typically, right? Because they are going to be the so-called early adopters of the Meta per se, right? So if you look
True.
from the market acceptability perspective, uh, this is something which will probably be, accepted. But obviously there are many building blocks around it, which is access to high speed, high quality internet. Now I don't think so that's available everywhere, lag free, latency free, right? Even though we have high quality internet at a place, we still cannot experience the meta level kind of experience, or so called. So there may be issues there. So that's the reason I'm keeping that out. We will probably discuss that as we evolve. But from a market acceptance
Right.
perspective, we are already in a kind of a meta universe in our minds, right? Typically, if you see the kids when they start, their minds are in the connections they have created over Facebook or Instagram, who has
Very true.
liked it. So they are already mentally transported in a meta kind of a universe or world, and it's a matter of time that many of these experiences become rich. Technology, Web3, and the enabling infrastructure like payment, identity around and all wrap it and present itself. Maybe say next 5 8 years, we'll see this start happening. Though obviously we have some good examples already in the being implemented by even banks in India, surprisingly. Yeah.
Yeah, true. I mean, some banks in India have already are looking at, and some of them I heard are even floating RFPs. So that's interesting. Another thing, when you mentioned about the kids, they are already into the gamification kind of thing. So they are playing things like Roblox, Fortnite, and all this kind of thing, Minecraft and all. And there they are used to buying those coins for, reaching the next level, or, buying that avatar, or, all those kind of interesting things. So they are already used to this kind of a world. And probably the Gen Z may hook up, and this is my perspective again and point of view. The Gen Z may hook up very soon and take it up very soon. If somebody tells me to wear that Oculus VR headset too and do banking, I may think, I may shy away. I would say. But once when I saw it for the first time a year back, I was mesmerized with the kind of, the kind of effects it was giving in terms of AR VR. But I think in the to pose a serious question, Karthik, and this is like an open question we both can answer, is how will the transactions actually happen in a meta world? Considering I see that blockchain will play a very important role with if you want to give loans against crypto and all those kind of products, you want to hyper personalize somebody. If somebody comes as an avatar, like I enter the meta banking as an avatar, if somebody is there to assist me as a bot, taking me through the banking experience or giving me some personalized offers, that saying that I know your CLTV value and basis that I can give you an offer, something like that. I mean, might be very interesting, right? If I'm a banker with, and I'm banking with that bank for say quite some period of time, so they know my longevity and my characteristics, right? So it would be very interesting, right? Rather than just going to a bank, I see digitally, I can feel it, I can see offers personalized for me in banners, do a bit of gamification, probably a bit too late in my life, but why not? But I think this can lead to acquisition as well. And we have seen the Australian Open being played, and there were some banks, the neo age banks, the neo banks, as I would call it, they were trying to monetize and acquire customers there. So I've seen all those things happening. And what do you feel, Karthik? This is coming of age. I mean, the new age will look at these kind of gamification opportunities in banking as well. Take it seriously, I would say.
Yeah. So if now, I think this is a very pertinent question. There is a promise of the metaverse. There are technology limitations. What will happen? Crowd is ready. All these are different dimensions. They will converge, right? But the true thing is, what is the reality, and what is the promise? What's actually going to happen, right? Very pertinent question. So in whatever the current environment, I feel the first thing where metaverse has a very good relevance for banking and insurance, right, and we can have some cases rolled out, is in training,
Right.
right? So, and training can also be for customers because certain products are complex in nature, right? So it could be, and some of them, so there can be scenarios where it can be done. And I'll tell you, it need not just be for customers who are youngsters who are accessible. Let me give you a very vague example where practically it can be done. Uh, for example, we have India recently launched the digital banking units. Why
Right.
can't we have virtual headsets in these banking units, and some awareness programs being run on a metaverse there? So these things can be actually practically rolled out in a scenario which is for which the end customer need not directly have a device, but it can be done in a scenario where the environment is controlled. It can be done through kiosks, ATMs, or the likes of those which are available at plenty, right? So so these are practical things where I feel it will instantly be rolled out. And second is obviously gaming and rich experiences, gamification in terms of incentivizing them to
Right.
transact more, build a community. These are things which are required for you need to agitate the digital world with some activities, right? Whenever there is a event happening, the master of ceremonies comes on the stage and he tries to agitate the crowd with excitement. And so if you need to agitate, so gamification is one such measure to agitate and have transactions happening, and then this will eventually lead to the remaining thing. But yes, in terms of the besides payments, other products, maybe it will take a bit amount of time, because obviously there are a lot of enabling things which need to come around with it. That's what I feel in terms of the practical happening, or implementation of metaverse, which I feel is possible. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Perfectly well put, and Karthik, thanks. And I would like to take this moment to also introduce our other fellow Parliament member, Prasanna. Prasanna, welcome. Just to give a brief intro, Prasanna is the CEO of Blockstack. He's been, virtually in all the conferences I've seen so far globally, and he's a avid uh, uh, enthusiast, blockchain and meta enthusiast himself. He's the CEO of Blockstack, and he's doing wonders in the field of blockchain and meta and allied DLT DeFi arena. Welcome, Prasanna. Thanks for joining us. The topic today, as you know, is meta in banking and insurance. I took some questions with Karthik. Uh, with your permission, I'll post some questions to you, yeah,
Yeah,
as well.
yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you so
yeah.
much.
Thanks, Prasanna. And Prasanna, we were discussing about how Meta is coming and it's becoming another important channel as internet and mobile banking are already, and it become the channel of the future and become the most persistent channel right at the end of the day. So coming of age, we have seen a lot of platforms, and I will come to the platform part of it since you're the CEO of a kind of Blockstack, which actually does a lot of work, and you'll know much better than any one of us. There are platforms like Spatial, there are platforms like Allspace, there is Unity, Unreal for the native, then there is Engage, there is Glue. There are so many. I mean, where do you think? And people are, banks, without naming any, are investing in spaces in, say, Decentraland, in other lands. So where do you think it's all going, and where will it all converge? Because there are many people are using some platforms for certain use cases, some platform for other use cases. Where do you see this going? In terms of serious banking, where are the use cases in banking really going to see the light, or is it going to be present across all these platforms? How will it happen? Your
Well, I
point of view.
think good to see that at least some of the banks locally in India, outside of India now, doing some research, taking some risk to build some experiments on a metaverse, at least not financial, but some non-financial experiment they are doing. But ultimately, when we look at any of those technology adoption, the business runs around use cases. It will not be around technology. Technology always comes and enable the business. If you go back 20 years before, you will see how internet has enabled the business, or you talk about how SMSs have enabled some SMS banking channel, or missed call kind of a channel. If you look at 2007-8, we have seen how smartphones has picked up some kind of application where we have seen mobile banking has come up to the way, right? So internet banking, mobile banking are some channels which we have seen which were not existing 20 years before, and which are in existence since the last more than 10 years, and so on. And typically with the right open banking, API banking adoption, the banking slowly moving out of the banks, right? Rather,
Right.
at least experience moving out of the banks with the fintechs, or some of those big tech companies are giving some experiences, for example, WhatsApp banking, Google Pays, and so on. And if you look at the overall concept behind all these services, how communication channels are changing from that 2G to 3G to 4G, now we are landing in 5G. So automatically it gives lot of liberty for channels to interact with the customers. So interaction which was on brick and mortar, it is still there, while we have moved that interaction slowly on contact centers, where people can talk to the contact centers, another channel. And from there we have seen interactions has gone some invisible on internet banking, mobile banking, or some of those WhatsApp banking today we speak about, or some kind of a chatbot banking, which typically we are looking at. So all of these are web 2 experiences which we have seen typically since last 20 years. Now metaverse is altogether different, right? It's another channel. So metaverse, we look at, it's a concept, I would say, or it's comprising of many more things, right? So on the front side, you can always see immersive experiences, maybe with augmented reality or virtual reality, and down the line how it connects to the same banking ecosystem through some kind of a APIs, or some kind of a enterprise service bus, or in the backend, how do we really safeguard this whole experience? So metaverse says, I'll come, but I'll come with a new avatar, that is Web3, which has a different set of gadgets or infrastructure to deal with, right? So maybe, as Apple says, we want to deal with metaverse only with the same phones, rather than building some kind of a Quest 2.0 or something which Facebook or Meta is bringing, or you have seen how Microsoft is bringing some devices,
Right.
not Geo also, right? So how these experiences are on to the augmented or virtual reality. In the back end, you have a same business process down the line, but in the downline, we talk a lot about AI and blockchain, which will really supersede and really make the whole ecosystem intelligent. So when you talk about banking are going with the metaverse, it's not one thing which they are going to align with. They have to really go with the complete stack. And to go ahead with the complete stack, it's a gradual process. They may buy some land in Decentraland or a sandbox and so on, but those are not actual use cases where somebody is sitting in some village in India will really adopt. One of the examples which Karthik ji has spoken about, we can create a experience in villages at the same DBU, right, where people can see a branch, how it looks like, right? Instead of going to cities, they can really have that experience out there. And the way we will move on to this concept, from those heavy gadgets to the invisible gadget down the line, next 3 to 4 years, I think then everything will be around metaverse. So it will take 5 to 6 years at least to have a metaverse in day-to-day life. And the way we have seen internet banking or internet era in 2000, we used to be very happy with the emails, right? We have email ID and website, right? Down the line, it has gone to the marketplaces, right? So that evolution happened because there were a lot of research from that Java 1.0. We can see now Flutter or React Native, which gives a lot of liberty to build many more apps immediately. Now, how do we build those apps immediately on metaverse? Although there are some 10, 12 platforms available. So if you go back as a developer, and it is an opportunity for you also to create your platform. So I'll not be surprised, banking world comes with their own platform, their own guidelines, their own regulation, their own compliance. If a financial services has to be on metaverse, this has to be aligned with these guidelines. So I'll not be surprised, say example, in Indian context, there will be another company, the way we have NPCI for payments, or we have built in UPI, we'll have some other experiences built by that company, which is supported by regulation or some guidelines. So unless that comes, it is always a premature to say whole banking will come on metaverse. But this risk-taking attitude or aptitude towards innovation and collaborating with these startups and big tech players has to be there, so that that journey can be minimized and we can bring many more use cases. For example, today we are talking with one bank. Can we create complete virtual bank branch? or today we are talking with another banks, can we create complete KYC system on a metaverse, right? How do I onboard a customer onto the metaverse who is going to do payment transaction? Now,
True.
here comes another thing, like while metaverse plays a major role in combination with blockchain and relevant use cases, primarily on a DeFi's and a NFT, right? While you are moving your content creation, everything out there on NFTs slowly, how do we pay there, right? Today we are paying with some kind of a crypto asset or some kind of a currency where we are losing that pie as a country, right? So example, there we don't find any UPI or IMPS, but how do we bring on a right regulation there so that we can utilize payment ecosystem? Say example, last month I was at a MasterCard in metaverse launch. They have done beautiful experience. They have done payments with the cards. So all these experiments, innovations will be going on. How do we have a right regulation into the metaverse system? Now, metaverse gives the challenge. What challenge? The way we have had the challenge with the Web 2.0 or websites or so on. We never imagined banking will go on mobile banking, right? And it will have a 60, 70, whatnot, all kind of a super apps kind of a experience. Everything happens out there, right? So just imagine the way we are not able to imagine now. What is that going to be there on metaverse? There will be new business models on a metaverse, which will be fueled by tokenization, sharing economy, which is picking up slowly, right? So I think which is an unimaginable world where banking will has to be there. So metaverse will be there, but the kind of a segment of customers will be altogether different as far as my personal opinion is concerned. Will not have same traditional customer to do and go and do the, because it will be in a gap, right? At least 5 to 6 years of gaps to really create a mature metaverse ecosystem. By the line we reach there, we'll have a remain with a 4 to 5 generations only, the way we have today 7 to 8 generations around traditional banking at branches, mobile, internet, and so on. So, and the kind of a business models, if you see, it is coming from Web to Web 3.0. I think it will trigger lot many use cases around metaverse. But these are all my personal opinions. We never know. Some XYZ comes and says, I am tomorrow's Facebook or tomorrow's Google's, and this is how you should really operate upon. This is what we have seen 20 years before. Facebook was not existing, or Google was not existing, or Netflix was not existing. And those are the logos where we cannot live our personal life. We always want them around. We always want them in our mobile phones, because mobile phone is now central gadget which we operate everything, right? So down the line, a form factor will change. Form factor may be invisible. Metaverse may fuel these kind of form factors. But it's a beautiful journey. I think that's what at a Blockstack also, the reason I changed my banking to the Blockstack was one of those reasons. Instead of watching it out, why not to be part of a game and create those ecosystem for not only banks, but those millennials and different set of customers out there. Yeah.
Thanks for the perspective, Prasanna. Really interesting from both Parthik and you. And I think you answered two of my questions which were going ahead. I mean, which I was supposed to pose. One was on the hardware side of things, where we have the glasses coming up from Jio or Google, and the Oculus headsets will become lighter, they say, and Sony will come up with something.
There are a lot of innovations are happening.
Lot of innovations happening. So the form factor might not become so heavy, because you feel a bit nauseatic after wearing that headset over a period.
If you see those form factors 5 years before, and 6 months before, and even now 1 month before, right? You will see vast difference out there.
Right.
The gadget which I have experienced 1 month before, I could sustain at least there for 1.5 hours, and it came out. It was just nausea for hardly some minutes. But 6 months before, when I was utilizing, I slept for 30 minutes or more than that, right? I was not able to come out of that, and I was not in a favor of what is really happening. But that's how we need to give a chance. Yeah.
No, I appreciate it. And when I experienced it the first time, I felt nauseatic after the first 15 minutes. But things are changing, and the form factor will definitely, hardware will improve, and that will not be an inhibitor. I'm sure about it. And this will be the next way of doing banking and insurance in a few years, it will become the lowest common denominator, as internet and mobile banking have already become, along with our wallet markets in India, and globally. In fact, the neobanks globally are also looking at digital banking very seriously and Meta very seriously. Now, just coming on to the regulation part of it, and Prasanna and Karthik, this is both for you. In the interest of time, could you just throw some light in terms of regulatory? Where are we both in India and global point of view? Because a lot of the banks, though they have invested heavily, they are doing the non-financial transaction. When it comes to financial transaction, and if there is anything related to crypto, the regulatory teams of the banks are not permitting it. When do we actually see fiat getting traded? I mean, where do you see it? And Prasanna, you answered it partially. Probably Karthik, you would like to start, and then Prasanna, would you like to add something?
Yeah, I think Abhilash, before I get into regulatory, you need certain enablers for regulatory, right? Right. Today, for example, identity, digital identity does not exist, barring obviously things like Aadhaar. In the true digital sense, things like tokenization have started just come, for example, getting implemented, right? So we will need some kind of a identity, tokenization, anonymity, privacy laws, all that mature in the metaverse. So some element with respect to privacy laws are there, but then they don't totally keep the metaverse experience in mind. So we have to adopt certain metaverse related realities and maybe make amends to it globally, because I'm not read of any regulation globally, at least, which has been adopted with metaverse in mind as of now, right? So
Right.
that's going to be the number one enabler, because that will add comfort. Because see, sometimes what happens, if everything is fine, you don't actually need regulation. So if technology can plug in and take care of many aspects, regulations are a fail safe at a later stage in an extreme scenario. So people don't, when they enter into a transactions, I don't think so they look at regulation first. They look at the enablers and the comfort being offered by things like these identity, tokenization, and the trust with respect to those metaverses, right? So that experience of trust, once these things are built, I think regulations will plug in and need to be adopted with metaverse as a reality, because in a digital environment like a metaverse, we've already seen some, within a limited scope, certain wrong things happening in metaverse,
Right.
So there is identity theft, and all these things are high possibility abuse, right? And so it needs to be definitely attended to. But I think that won't come. That will probably come later. Maybe that takes another 5, 7 years, 8 years. But if the enablers come, the adoption will instantly happen. Like identity is solved, adoption will happen, right? That's my thinking. Yeah.
Sure. And also, Prasanna, before you answer, if you could also add the crypto custody and all these kind of applications which are now coming into light because of the AML factor and all this kind of things, where crypto transactions are being checked on. And that's where I was asking, the banks may not be so happy to have a NFT transaction using a crypto or a stable coin or any of those coins, utility coins on the Meta. So Prasanna, would you also like to put your point of view on that?
Can you repeat your last line?
Yeah, I was saying, considering banks don't like the crypto transactions to happen on their environment, right? All said and done, they would like to see the fiat only happening or regulated transactions happening on a Meta, right? And as of now, as you know, when you even buy an NFT or any of the things, you have to go into the you have to go to the crypto, buy a stable coin or trade in a crypto. So where do you see this thing going, and especially with crypto custody laws and the anti-money laundering and the FATCA rules coming into play, not just in our country, everywhere, because of various reasons, as we know. So the KYT and all this becomes very important. So where do you see the marriage of all this, where transactions actually take place and the regulator allows it, not just in our country, anywhere in the world?
I think a lot of things are happening on this unstoppable journey of crypto. Okay, and I think it's very important for every country to really study this well, not from a technology perspective, but rather how it is going to help for economy and overall GDP and many more other aspects.
Right.
Yeah, so when crypto has started long back 2008, people say, right, Satoshi Nakamoto came with the Bitcoin, and the agenda was how do you create a better financial ecosystem. Well, we had some downfalls with a lot of banks globally, like those were bank behaving like they are one of those best bank 1 year before. In 2007 and 2008, those vanished, right? Lehman Brothers and so on. So that's why the concept came, but the concept was never picked up for a financial inclusion, where today we still see that more than 2 billion people have a earning of $1 to $2 and don't have a bank accounts. So that's the magic all about. How do we use the same technology, so-called blockchain, and utilize it for creation of another kind of a money, which is a digital currency. Now, if you look at a money flower, which is presented by the BIS, right, whose KR is to create a better financial ecosystem worldwide. So let's look at that angle, and then we'll drill down into why crypto, why not crypto. Now, coming back where we had CBDCs, right, central bank digital currency, which is backed by blockchain, and certainly if they come up, and if a whole world operates on the same standard of a CBDC, it's a no-brainer. It is going to be really helpful for a better financial inclusion worldwide, for cross-border payment, wholesale payments, and it will really bring on GDP growth for every country out there. Now, coming back to the crypto and how crypto is being adopted by some of those countries like Switzerland or Japan or Hong Kong's, UAE or Singapore, they are understanding this is a new segment of money, and the way it is moving ahead, it is unstoppable. So just to stop it or regulate it, there are good regulation. If you study around, they have categorized these assets into various asset classes. If you really look at a concept paper or a strategy paper at Switzerland, it gives a lot of a clarity how a crypto should work. And if all those 17,000 crypto should operate around those guidelines, ultimately they will bring down to around 200, 300 cryptos only in worldwide, right? So today we have those many. We don't know whether those are real cryptos or real backed by any assets or commodity. And if you look at Indian context, India always says we are okay if it has to be, has some commodity has to be there behind, right? Which we never found in those streamlined or mainstream cryptos. That is why instead of saying yes, let's say no and bring on right regulation, which is coming up. So in Indian context also, it is going to come, while UAE or Singapore or Malta or Estonia or Swiss, US, EU has taken good steps, and there are various entities like OECD, and there are many more who are coming up with a lot of guidelines around crypto, how they should be operated upon. Now here, some of the banks in US, they do accept crypto, right? So for example, at the Blockstack, the way we have created ecosystem, it does accept crypto, but it has a very good regulatory support out there in US. Similarly, there are some 8 to 9 entities in Swiss which are supported by a banking ecosystem and which accept crypto, right? Again, what is the kind of a crypto asset you are bringing in? For what purpose? It has to be assessed. We have assessed, and we know how it is going to be successful experience in those countries, because we are doing ultimate financial fast tracking ecosystem without any operations as settlement, which is what crypto says. We operate without any settlement and without any of those operational overheads, right? Similarly, when you see CBDC architecture, those are also without any operational efforts and settlement, where your cost of operating of the financial ecosystem reduced down, right? That's the ultimate aim all about. And if I say as a Pay Circle, which is one of the innovation which is live in US for us, and certainly it will go to the large scale people out there, where settlement happen instantly for a merchant. Today settlement happened T+1, because this is how we created since last 40 plus 50 plus years those ecosystem, right? And we are happy to say that UPI is a wow experience, but behind UPI there is a lot of operational effort which happens for settlement and so on, right? Where NPC is also looking at how they can create a Vajra-like experiences to reduce down the settlement cycle. But ultimately it's like a patch arrangement. But the technology behind crypto, when it comes and really gives a wow factor for any of those payment experiences, then I think we need to really study how we can really adopt for certain use cases. So I'll not be surprised that we have some retail experiments in India, like Solar Coin, right, which is backed by a CBDC and backed by INR, or something like sugarcane coin, which is helpful for giving subsidy to farmers in Maharashtra, or some kind of a wheat coin in Punjab, which helps to give direct money to their accounts instead of having that sale at a mandi followed by the overhyped cost for that wheat, right? So you can have a lot of transparency kind of a ecosystem can be built with the help of this technology. So rather just look at how we can welcome those ongoing crypto journeys. We need to see how these ongoing crypto journeys can be supported by better, as you rightly said, KYT or KYC, right? When one crypto goes down, there is no other crypto to come and help. But today, one bank goes down, there will always another bank to come and help to pick up that bank. We have seen examples in India many times, right? Because everything is, the whole ecosystem is supported by Reserve Bank of India. They are responsible. How do we create cohesive, secure, compliant structure so that ultimate customer is benefited out of it? That regulation is lacking in the crypto ecosystem. As and when it comes, and the way our honorable finance minister always says that it will need global collaboration, right? They always talks with IMF or any of those. How do we have a better collaboration on global regulation around crypto? So a lot of things are happening. The people who are running crypto also want to have a right adoption for crypto, right use cases. Now, if you see the technology behind is also getting matured. We have seen experiments like the merge which Ethereum have done, or a Bitcoin keeps on doing, or you have seen layer 2 protocols like Polygon or Solana, although they also have some up and downs because of some inabilities at a governance, but they are also learning, right? But learning should not be in the cost of a customer deficient things, right? So we need to really take care of customer, where this, I think, right regulations will come into the picture. That is why Indian are looking for a right regulations. While we are bringing larger regulation, it's good to see what is happening right now. The pace has to be increased so that we should have a right clarity. Why? Because there are other countries, they are bringing a lot of good regulations, example UAE or Singapore as well. And if you want to really not to lose that pie of payments, we need to bring on that adoption. Example, MasterCard is adopting a lot of crypto payment companies, or Visa is adopting now. When they are adopting, they always adopt when a bank is behind. They will not do something on their own, right? Because these are the associations. While MasterCard is adopting, Visa is adopting, we need to see how RuPay can be adopted. It will take a lot of time, because the way things are moving up and down, it will take a lot of time, because we have other things to take care of. We are talking about PCR, account aggregator, we are talking about ONDC, but certainly we should not lose this pie. We should bring on with a right regulation in front of those set of customers who are really looking for those transactions on NFTs or metaverses and so on. Yeah, so I think that's my take.
Sure.
We will adopt.
Yeah. Thanks, Prasanna. That was really elaborative, and you've really. I mean, all my questions are answered. I had 2 more questions, but I think we lost time as well. But you answered the entire thing end to end, and I think, sorry, Upasana, we just. We took a bit more of time. Apologies for that, but I think this was interesting.
Not at all. Thank you. Thank you so much. In fact, this looks like a wonderful classroom to me, wherein you go in and decide to speak for 20 minutes and you end up talking for like 2 hours, and then you want to listen to some more, and people want to add a little bit more, and keeps getting more interesting, and then there's someone knocking on the door. Look, even I have to teach as well, so please come out of the door. So very wonderful session where it could go on and on. Thank you all the panel members, Mr. Lohar, Mr. Karthik, and of course Abhilash sir. That's a wonderful job indeed.
It's our pleasure.
Thank you so very much for joining us, taking out time of your busy schedules and making it so very interesting. Thanks a ton.